Right, this can be seen as part B on the part of where we speak about hell, specifically the word Hades. This is to clarify the verse 1 Corinthians 15 verse 55, and the word Hades appears there in the received text. It does not, however, appear in the other texts, the Nestle Allen text or the UBS text. They've got Thanate. So they've got death. So they've got death, where is thy victory, and death, where is thy sting. That's what they've got there. The received text has Thanate Hade. So they've got death, where is thy sting, and then they've got grave, Hades translated as grave, where is thy victory. So where does the difference come in? Well, this is an interesting thing. We're looking at the CNTTS apparatus. To my knowledge, it's one of the more complete works containing most of the not most of the text, a lot of the manuscripts and the evidence, and basically the collation of it. They basically take each manuscript and then check what appears in that manuscript and then categorize them. Those that are for a particular reading and those that are against a particular reading, or those that changed it significantly or insignificantly, and so forth. Now it is a bit subjective to what they would qualify as significant or insignificant. It's done by the Center for New Testament Textual Studies, and this is in BibleWorks, the program BibleWorks. So we can look at that. It does not contain all the manuscripts. It does contain a lot. What they tend to do generally is they tend to collate or look at all the manuscripts supporting these two texts, and then sort of go for these as well. What they do not really do is they don't go through all the text, because it's pretty much almost an impossible job. It's not impossible, but it's a very big job to try and go through all the manuscripts in existence. There are over 5,700 and something manuscripts. So it's very difficult to do all of that and do it accurately and good. So they've mostly done the ones that support these two texts, but the rest pretty much support this text over here, the text receptors, received texts. But we'll look at some of these texts and we'll try and see why does it differ in that particular case there and there. So this is the base text they work from. They work from this one over here, Nestle Allen text. They say, O death, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? And then they say that there are changes at Nikos, so they deem that to be significant. There are changes at Thanate, this one, significant according to them. And then there's one change, a change over here at Kentron. So we'll look at that. Here's an interesting change over here. Where was it? I was looking at it a minute ago. Sorry, my computer is a bit slow. It's asleep already, I think. Okay. This is an interesting change over here. Looking at the very first death there. Now we know all the text here agrees that that's supposed to be death in the very first one up there. This one shows you that this is a papyrus, papyrus 46. A lot of them tend to be the oldest ones we've got available. Then there's Aleph Sinaiticus. They say that's the most complete, oldest Bible in existence, although it's a bit dubious, that particular one there. That star means that's the original reading. That C there means that's a correction. So in one of the corrections, that particular word has been omitted. The reason why I say it's dubious, there's a question hanging over it. They don't want to really admit it, but that manuscript, there are some questions to be asked, because some of the leaves aren't the same color. Some are white, some are darker. And then not long ago, shortly after Tischendorf discovered it in the 1800s, some people wrote about it, and they wrote that all the leaves were white. So there are questions about how did it turn color so quickly. Some of the wording are very, very strange. Some Latin words later on used appears transliterated in the Greek text. So it appears that this manuscript, supposedly from the 300s after Christ, now suddenly contains a word or two from a later time when the Latin used it, but it's transliterated into the Greek text. We'll look at that in another video. It's very interesting to look at these things, but it's very, very interesting that they use this text. That's one of the main reasons, that text there, one of the main reasons why they've changed away from the authorized version and the Textus Receptus. That little Aleph there, that's the only manuscript designated by a Hebrew character. Some of them have Greek characters, and some of them have numbers and so forth, but that's the only one. And B, that's the other one. That's Vaticanus. That's the one kept up in the Vatican and hasn't been accessible really by anybody until very recently. And they are the two that generally caused them to turn away from these. There are actually 5 that are generally followed. It's Aleph, and then it's A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. And but they're the ones really causing the big division. Although these two among themselves disagree in the Gospels alone in over 3,000 places. So their voice is not as unison as you would think it should be. They're supposed to be very old, supposed to be the oldest Greek manuscripts in the 300s, but there's a question mark hanging over them. Anyway, you can see that all these manuscripts agree in this particular reading over here that this should be death, Thanate. This one has a different spelling, but you can see it's the same word, Thanate. This one has a different spelling, not different spelling, but it repeats the word, Thanate, Thanate. But this one, 1735, he's got it all backward. He's got Ade. Now we've seen this word before. That's the one in the Textus Receptus, but that's at the latest stage. Now he's got it at the very first one, so he's got it turned around, it seems. Let's see what he does later. Anyway, so these all agree. You can see there's a Textus Receptus, and if we go down, and you can see the Textus Receptus agrees with the UBS and the National Allen text, because in this case it's the same word there. If we go down a little bit, come to this part. This is now the second Thanate. So this is the second one. Now it's changed a bit. Remember that one that was different, 1735? That used to have the Adi up there. Now it's Thanate there. So he's got it completely backwards from this one, the Textus Receptus. He turned them around. He swapped them around. But now suddenly all these agree with him, But these disagree. All of these show that it should be Ade, Hades. So the majority of these, and these aren't all the manuscripts, like I say, these are only the ones they've been collated. They've been collating in this particular database by the CNTTS, Center for New Testament Textual Studies. There are some other texts as well that do contain this text that have not been collated yet, so whenever that's done, they'll be added in one of these groups, maybe add a third group depending on whether it's got different reading. But I can almost guarantee you that most of them will be added to this group over here. Oh, sorry, I've clicked that accidentally. So these manuscripts, the majority agree with the Textus Receptus. Now these differ, and I told you about A, Aleph, A, B, C, D, there they are, and P46, generally the one agreeing with them as well. Now watch out for these numbers there at the back. They are texts, compiled text. Those aren't manuscripts. Those aren't manuscripts. They are somebody that compiled all these into their particular text. So you can see the majority has turned against that. These are those that are lacunae. That means they do not contain that particular text. They should contain that part, but they don't have that part. In other words, some of the manuscript is missing. When you do actually see OM, the little words OM, that's because they've actually let out that part, left it out and did not include it. But in this case we don't know what they support, which side they did support. But in this case you can clearly see that the majority has turned around. They've said Hade, and these bunch over here, they now suddenly agree with this one. Let's turn it around. They speak about Thanate. So the majority have decided that the Textus Receptus is in fact the correct one. Now the oldest manuscript we've got available over here in Greek, according to this particular database, my mouse does not always work like it should, is this one. That's from the 9th and the 10th century. That's where it can be found. 9th century is 800s. It's a pretty old manuscript, so you find that. Now there are other ways of looking at these texts as well, and to determine what should be the correct text, but we'll look at that in another video in a little bit more detail, because it's quite a big field. But now you understand the majority, from the Greek manuscripts at least, that the majority have sided with this one over here.